Good morning and welcome, friends. We'll begin our service this morning in just a minute, but before we do, I want to make sure that everyone has a chance to check their phones or any other electronic or noise-making devices and just make sure that they are either completely silent or turned off at this point before we get started. Dear friends, wonderful family, beloved community, we gather here together to pay loving tribute to Toby Samet, who's a blessed part of this community for so many years. We'll begin with the words of the 23rd Psalm.
Mizmor leDavid, Adonai roi lo exar, benot eshe yarbitzeni, yarbitzeni. All may menuchot inaleni, nafshi shovev, yancheni v'magleit tzedek leman shemo. Gam ki elech begeit salmavet, lo irara ki ata imadi, shiftecha umishantecha. Heima, heima, yenachamuni, taroch lefanai, shulchan neged sorarai, teshanta v'shemen, roshi kosi v'rara, ach tov v'chesed, yedfuni kol yemei chayai, v'shavti beveit Adonai liorech yamim. Ay, 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 ay.
Psalm of David. Adonai is my shepherd, I shall not want. God makes me to lie down in God's green pastures. God leads me beside the still waters and restores my soul. Adonai guides me in the straight paths for God's own name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You have anointed my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. One of the things that Toby shared with me many times about her own Jewish upbringing was the way that familiar things, whether they were tunes, songs, rituals, latched into her heart and made her feel comfortable. And it is in her honor that I share the following words that seem to capture her more than almost any I know from the tradition. Eshet chayil mimsa v'rachok mipninim mikra, batach balev bala v'shala lolech yaksar. A woman of valor, how precious she is to find. Her worth is far beyond rubies. Her husband puts his confidence in her, and her family lacks no good thing. She is good to all and never bad all the days of her life. She opens her hand to the needy and extends her hand to the poor. She is clothed in strength and splendor. She looks to the future cheerfully. She opens her mouth with wisdom. Her tongue is guided by kindness. She oversees the activities of her household and never eats the bread of idleness. Her children come forward and bless her. All praise her and say, "Many women have done superbly, but you surpass them all." Friends, we take some moments today to honor the life of Toby Samet. A gem, a jewel, a good egg, a dear friend, an incredible mother, my kid's favorite teacher. A heart bigger than you can imagine, a picture of caring. These are just a few ways that people have described Toby to me since I first moved to Cincinnati. I was trying these last few days to remember every conversation we had had, all that I was blessed to share with Toby, who was a regular fixture here at Adath, Israel, and throughout the community. And as I was thinking about her, another description came to mind, this time from the Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sachs of blessed memory. He once said, "Teachers open our eyes to the world. They give us curiosity and confidence. They teach us to ask questions. They connect us to our past and our future. They are the guardians of our social heritage. We have lots of heroes today. They come and they have their 15 minutes of fame and then they go. But the influence of a good teacher stays with us. They are the people who really shape our lives." I have been struggling to write words to capture Toby's life, and without ever having met her, I feel like Rabbi Sachs captured her perfectly. In every facet of her life, from the workings of her house to her professional accomplishments, from the way she greeted every single person with cheer along her way, Toby Samet was a teacher and an inspiration par excellence. She raised generations of students with her knowledge and compassion at Adath Israel's religious school, where she taught since 1966. At the same time, teaching kindergarten at Yavna Day School, which is now Rockborn Academy, the preschool at the JCC, and as director and teacher at the Adath Preschool for 19 years. Toby did not know how to invest anything other than the complete totality of her heart in everything she did. She invested in the people she cared for and in complete strangers with equal zeal. But especially, she put her efforts towards her family, her friends, her community, and the precious children she was privileged to teach. I feel fortunate to have met Toby before I ever actually lived in Cincinnati. My wife Jessica had already accepted a position here at Jewish Hospital, and we had come into town to look at houses and schools and the synagogue. And we decided to see what a Shabbat service here at Adath would be like. And shortly after I arrived, someone introduced me to her saying, "Oh, you've just got to meet Toby." So I went over to say hello, and Toby said, "You're interviewing to be the new rabbi?" I said, "Yes." She said, "You're going to do great. I know you'll do wonderful things for the community." And she gave me a hug. She never greeted me or my family with anything other than a beaming 1,000-watt smile. She always had some little encouragement, some funny, quirky story to share with me, some concern she wanted to alert me to so that maybe I could help someone else. I, like so many, have been treated to the unflagging love and cheer and good humor that Toby had for one and all, but most especially for her family and for her students. Generations upon generations of children benefited from Toby's love of Judaism in every space she inhabited. Her love of Jewish learning started from her own upbringing, from when she was a child learning at Talmud Torah on Rockdale Avenue 5 days a week. It continued through her life and was one of her main guiding stars in everything she did. And the other was her family. Just as she was a caring and ever-present educator, Toby was also a lovingly devoted wife, mother, and grandmother. She made a life with Sam of blessed memory, her husband and the partner of her heart here in Cincinnati, the city she was blessed to grow up in. And she was able to raise her own children here. Her daughter Michelle of blessed memory, and Mike, her loving son, who cared for her so deeply in return. She was a loving grandmother to Danny as well, and she kept so in touch with the web of her family, both near and far, many of whom are here today. She put her whole heart into not only raising and growing her own nuclear family, but to caring and connecting them to the broader family of community. She spent decade after decade making sure that they never doubted her concern, that they felt her love every day, and that they understood that they could be the best people that they were without being exactly like Toby. She met her husband Sam in 1953 at Habonim Labor Zionist Camp, Camp Kinneret in Michigan, if you're familiar. When it was time for her and Sam to find their spiritual home, they were very practical about it. They were looking around for a synagogue right around the time that Toby's own mother passed in 1966. And Toby's sister and brother-in-law, Esther and Henry Hyman, belonged at Adath. And she said it just made sense to be able to spend time with her family while they were all saying Kaddish. It just felt right. And it was from the connection of these two great loves, Toby's love of family and her love of Judaism and Jewish community, that her whole life blossomed into its extraordinary luster. As she shared recently with our wonderful Mitch Cohen, the synagogue was the source of her pride. It supported her identity. She was delighted to own her Adath Israel membership. It was with her for all of her life cycle events, for b'nai mitzvahs of her kids and the kids she raised through their education. So many happy and so many sad times. Much like Toby, her husband Sam poured his heart into this community. He was the king of morning minyan, always looking to help out, often shopping for the minyan breakfast or driving people who struggled to get here. And just like his wife, Sam always had open arms to embrace anyone, to create a space and a spiritual home for them, just as he and Toby made their own home a place of welcome. Together, the two of them lived and breathed the connections that they formed throughout the Jewish community and beyond, and it showed in the way they beamed whenever they were able to spend time with others. That love and care was returned to them many times over by all the others who were a part of their lives. Looking around this amazing community, I see so many people who not only have been touched by Toby and her family, but who have shared their lives with them in return. When Toby and Sam's daughter Michelle passed away in 2004, they were heartbroken. But Toby described Michelle as a powerful force that made an imprint on the world, who shared her love with so many. But she also described how Rabbi Wise, who was a rabbi here at the time, the Samet's minyan friends, their other teachers, parents, community members, and decades of inspired students flocked to comfort them. It was as if people had been saving up all the goodness that they had received from Toby and her family and were just waiting for a time when they could fully pay it back. I'm not sure there are many people here in our Adath Israel community who don't know Toby Samet. As her son Michael shared with me, Toby was Adath Israel, and Adath Israel was Toby. They were synonymous. And this is not an exaggeration. Adath Israel honored Toby back in 2017 for her 50th year of teaching and named one of our rooms after her, the Toby Samet Resource Room. You can go and you can see a plaque mounted outside her room where she continued to teach until this current school year when her health struggles prevented her from starting the school year with her students. She is literally carved into the foundation of this place. Whether it was her friendly smile, the way she greeted people for years at their entrance to the Jewish Community Center, whether it was her soft and lilting voice leading from the bima or chanting Haftarah on Rosh Hashanah, her friendship and her guidance of her innumerable students over her decades of teaching, or just her soft way of bringing caring into any situation, Toby Samet was an incredible force that built goodness and warmth into the very fabric of our shared spaces. Her legacy will live on far beyond her years. She inspired people to add more goodness to their days and years, to be the connector who brought other people together in joy. She inspired me to smile a little bit more, to care a little more deeply, and to be more present for the people who make up community and my own life. She has been a blessing to us all. For Toby Samet, Tovia, Bad Yechiel, Michal, Valea, we say Tehei Nishmata Tzura B'Tzura Chaim. May your soul be bound up in the bonds of eternal life. I was asked by so many of Adath Israel's former rabbis and other spiritual leaders who have met Toby over the year to share their greetings and condolences to the family, both from Rabbi Smokin, our immediate previous senior rabbi, Rabbis Daniel and Karen Bogard, and also Rabbi Irv Wise, who wrote some remarks he asked me to share on his behalf in memory of Toby. Rabbi Wise writes, after Shabbat last night, a good friend called because he wanted to talk about Toby. When he was living in Cincinnati years ago, his older child went to the JCC preschool that Toby ran. He moved away, and after retiring years later, he moved back to Cincinnati and rejoined Adath Israel. He went up to Toby after Shabbat services, soon after he landed in Cincinnati, and introduced himself by name. To which Toby said, "Oh, you're Leah's father." My friend was a bit astounded that after all those years she remembered him and his daughter and told Toby so. To this she responded, "I remember all my children." Toby had many strengths and praiseworthy attributes, and preeminent among them was her love of children and her commitment to nurture them. All three of Kathy and my children had very special relationships with Toby over these years. Toby and Sam became very important and precious people to us almost from the first time we arrived in Adath Israel in the summer of 1992. Our rabbis of the Talmud in Masechet Sanhedrin taught that unlike one who makes thousands of coins from one mold, God makes one mold for every human individual, because every human being is unique. It is fair to say that some folks are more unique than others, and certainly Toby Samet was among them. Toby and Sam met as teenagers, and if memory serves right, at a Jewish summer camp where their love began. They were married for decades until Sam's passing in 2016. They proved that opposites do indeed attract. Their love of being together and their love of Judaism was contagious. Being with them was so much fun, and at other times very meaningful. Still others were shared in serious discussion, and others were shared with just a laugh. They understood, as it is said, that when Jews laugh, it is through tears. They had a passion for living life and doing good for others. Sam's family from Canada were so much a part of their lives, with many visits in both directions over all the years together. Mike and Danny, your love for and dedication to your mother and grandmother has been extraordinary, an example for others to follow. When she spoke of you, which was often, her nachas and love for both of you flowed forth. All of you suffered when Michelle died so young, but you also strengthened each other. Toby and Sam's faith guided them, and if there was understandably anger and bitterness, I did not sense it or hear any words expressing it. Toby loved living a Jewish life. She not only celebrated being a Jew, but considered it a gift and a blessing for which she was immeasurably thankful. How different would the American Jewish reality today be if more of us thought and felt the same? Toby could not get enough of Shabbos and Yom Tov, of shul and community, of rituals and customs and Jewish values for living and how to treat other people. But she especially could not get enough of the children. When Adath Israel became an egalitarian synagogue in 1992, Toby did not miss a beat. She was among the first women to don a talit, to ascend the bima, to chant Haftorah, to lead davening, and to defend the rightness and the ethics of equality. She deeply appreciated and understood the essence of the conservative Judaism as being committed to the best we are in merging traditional rabbinic Judaism with transformation and change. Toby was an educated person and knew that being part of God's creation made us responsible for all of creation. She did not preach, she simply lived this. She knew that all people were created equally in the image of God, and she knew that we needed to take care of this planet of ours that God has given us. She knew that we were to love other living creatures as best as we can. This was true of Sam and Toby's different pets, including dogs, raccoons, gerbils, and feeding birds and taking in animals who were in need of healing and even love. Toby lived by what is meant by being created in the image of God, namely being able to imitate God's ability to live as we live our lives. As God is compassionate, we are to be compassionate. As God is truthful, we are ever to be truthful. As God is caring and loving, we are to care and love for others. Toby had deep sympathy and even deeper empathy. She could not and would not tolerate racism, Islamophobia, LGBTQ phobia, immigrant and refugee phobia, and certainly not anti-Semitism. She would not and could not deal with unkind, selfish, self-centered, or intolerant people. And Toby Samet did not suffer fools. However, thankfully for some of us, she made exceptions. Kathy and I traveled with Toby to Israel in December of 2017 and to Eastern Europe in the summer of 2019. When we were in Jerusalem, we visited the Yad B'Yad school. This is one of the Israeli-Palestinian school systems with several schools in different cities. Each one now goes from kindergarten through 12th grade. Most American Jews have no idea of these very special schools that require parents of students to commit to parallel programming, including visits to the homes of their children's classmates and sharing their respective holidays and cultures. Also, all the classes are taught in Hebrew and Arabic by Palestinian and Israeli teachers, respectively. We met with a small group of seniors who shared deeply, honestly, and passionately about their experiences at the school and their hopes for the future. Toby's comment when we were leaving was that this should be done in all the schools, given the extraordinary benefits for children and their futures, and similar schools need to be established in the US and other countries where there is division, contention, and fighting. When we went to visit the Auschwitz-Birkenau death camp in Poland, one of Toby's shoes fell apart as we were walking, but she continued to walk. I told her I'm sure we could find a place for her to sit down for a moment, and she could wait for us to finish, but she refused, hobbling along on her one good shoe and dragging the other one behind her. Again and again, I tried to persuade her to please sit down and wait, and she said to me, given everything that the people here suffered through, I certainly can deal with one broken shoe. And she did. Toby was known by many names. She often went by the Yiddishism of the Hebrew Tova, which means good. But she also had a Hebrew name, Yonina, which means dove. The dove in the Jewish culture represents kindness, hope, and peace. The Hebrew Tova was not enough to describe Toby. She was a person of such blessing that she needed more than one name. She was great, not just good. Very great as a Jew, as a member of community, and as a caring human being. To Mike and Danny and to all the family, we share our hopes that all of you will be comforted and that Toby's memory will be a blessing for you that will grow beyond measure. Yehi zichronah livrarech. May her memory always be a blessing for us all. The psalmist writes, with what can we replace a person of wisdom? Their passing leaves us empty, and we have not to fill it. Certainly with Toby's passing, there is a hole in both our hearts and in our community, but she wouldn't want us to be sad and to miss her today. She would say, go out and do something good. Find a way to make someone else smile. Find something that you could contribute, and don't wait until tomorrow. Blessed is the one who created teachers, for they are the one who pass on knowledge and goodness, generation to generation, lador vador, forever and ever. Toby gave so many blessings to all of us, and it is such a blessing to see so many gathered in honor of her life and the service she gave to this whole community. We will conclude our remarks here with the memorial prayer, the Almali Rachamim. Following El Male Rachamim, we will proceed to the cemetery for the interments, and we'll continue to mark Toby's life and legacy. We'll also be gathering for Shiva here later today from 6 to 8 with a minyan at 7 p.m., as well as tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. for Shiva, and tomorrow evening, again, 6 to 8 with a service at 7.
El Male Rachamim, show. Please rise. El Male Rachamim, shochen bamromim, hamotzei menucha nechona, tachat konfei hashchina, b'malot kedoshim utorim, kizor harakia mashirim, et nishmot tova bar Yechiel michal v'leah, she'ol chalolama, Began Eden tehei menuchata, ana be'ol harachamim, hastirea b'tseiter kinafecha leolamim, utzor b'tzor hachayim, et nishmata Adonai hu nachalta v'navetanuach b'shalom ol mishkava v'nomar amen.
Shiva will be observed in the Marcus Chapel today from 6 to 8 with minyan at 7, tomorrow morning at 8 a.m., and then tomorrow evening from 6 to 8 with minyan at 7. If the pallbearers can please step forward at this time. And if I maybe have a couple people that are willing to volunteer as a pallbearer. And then you guys are going to turn around. We're going to go out that door. You're going to go that way. And if the family would like to follow behind, this does conclude our services. If you're heading to the cemetery with us, please grab a flag on your way out and make sure to turn on your headlights and your flashers.